there's, for some reason, almost everybody that I work with has some association between arousal, being revved up, stress hormones, increased heart rate, increased breathing rate, tension. You see, we were talking earlier on the chat, and people were saying, well, they've got kids that like to get on amusement park rides where they get all stressed, they get heart rate up, and they get breathing rate up, they get tension, but they think it's fun. Okay, but
Yeah.
but most people I work with regard those feelings of the heart rate up and the breathing rate up and tension as anxiety, at least anxiety, maybe fear, maybe danger,
Mm-hmm.
and and I would assume it's got to do with some things in the past. Um, I was also mentioning on the chat that I had a client who specifically nailed it in his own life. He said that his father was a great guy. He really loved his father. They had a great relationship when he was sober. But when his father started drinking, he said every time his father started drinking, sooner or later he was going to get hit. And so when his father started drinking, he started getting edgy. And so for him, and this also looked in when connected to flying, the feeling of getting aroused meant danger to him legitimately. He understood why. But when he got in the plane, when he had the same feelings, he felt danger. When there was turbulence and the plane dropped, felt danger, even though logically knew it was okay, he still felt danger. So I don't know. Do you have any thoughts?
Oh, I mean, I know exactly where this started, which is so helpful about the course because now that I understand this, you know, I was sent away as a teenager all by myself on a plane. My first plane ride, I was sent away and I had to fly all by myself. And I was terrified about going away. And I was on the plane all alone. So I had no one. And every single time when I was young that I was on a plane, I was by myself going somewhere really scary. And then when I had to go off to college, I was really scared and I went all by myself on a plane. And so that's when it started, was being alone without anyone to comfort me, that person.
Nobody was there saying this is okay.
No one was there at all. And it was associated with planes.
Yeah.
And my first flight when I was 15, and I think I told you this, I was sent away because my mom said that
Said you're getting too close.
I was too attached to her. So she says, okay, you need to go away, and you need to go to Boston. And I found this program for you and I'm going to put you on a plane. And she couldn't afford to go with me. So she just put me on the plane. Well, if you've ever flown into the Boston airport, it's super turbulent all the time, I think. What I've heard. I was all alone, terrified, and this turbulence was just something I didn't understand. I didn't have anybody's hand to hold. I didn't have anybody. So yes, turbulence triggers terrible anxiety producing feelings in me from those times in childhood and teenager, And I'm telling you, as soon as I understood that, it was like this liberation. Like I can't even tell you what that understanding meant to me. It all of a sudden made sense to me why I'm so afraid to fly.
Mm-hmm.
If you can understand where this came from, it makes it so much easier because somehow you then understand what's wrong with you, like.
Mm-hmm.
It's validating, right? Like now I get it. Now I get why other people can fly and it's fun for them, but for me, it's not fun. It's horrible because of what I remember from being young.
Well, is it just the flying, or is it also the feelings you get when flying?
It's everything. It's
Everything.
it's being away from home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm an anxious traveler to begin with. So it's being away from home. It's not knowing if I'm going to be okay. It's like the scary feeling of the plane shaking. And it's interestingly that as soon as I get where I'm going, I'm fine. But it's the getting there, the fear that's attached from leaving home, leaving my comfort place, you know, going into the unknown skies, scary. Um,
But now that you've linked it up to a calming person's face, voice, and touch, to some degree, it's gotten easier then?
well, yes, because it was what I would have loved to have had when I was 15, would have been that person, whether it was like flying with a friend that I felt comfortable with, or
Mm-hmm.
flying with a parent that was comforting, or, you know, which I didn't have. So now when I do the strengthening exercise, I'm able to redo, you know, having the person there in my subconscious. That's why this process makes a lot of sense to me. But I really think understanding the trigger is huge.
Yeah.
And for every one of us, there's probably some trigger that, if we thought about it, is what started our fears, right?
The thing that I still want to sort of see if we can tie is sometimes I say arousal, like a rose is a rose is rose. Arousal is arousal is arousal. It doesn't mean anything. But for people that I work with, no, arousal doesn't mean nothing. Arousal means fear.
Arousal means, no,
Yes.
it doesn't mean terror. It doesn't mean fear. It means terror.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, damn. That's what I was looking to see if that was the fact. Yeah. Okay.
And
Yeah.
guess what, by the way? I hate amusement park rides.
So do
Yeah.
I.
So do I.
Don't rev me up.
And I don't like driving fast in cars, and I don't like any of it. You know, I don't like any of it.
Then what you got to do is control everything that you can possibly control.
Right. Everything that's like fast or means like getting out of my comfort zone, or, you know, I don't even want to list for you all the things that I find terrifying. There's so many, it would take up this whole chat.
And then besides that, then you also have to have escape.
Yep, right, exactly. And the airplane, you are right on when you say that. There is no escape. And so sometimes if you feel terror and you know you can run out of the room, you're fine.
Yeah. But the plane, you can't do that.
No, you can't. You're
So
left
no problem there.
sitting there with your terror.
Yeah. Yeah. This town I live in is Easton, Connecticut. And the local school is named after a person who used to live here. The person who said life is a great adventure or it's nothing, Helen Keller, she lived here. So this is the kind of dilemma that we're in. We don't like change. We don't like being revved up. It's too much, and it makes us feel uncomfortable, makes us dissociate. And makes us so we can't think it. And yet, if she's right, you know, this is what we really need to keep pushing ourselves to do. Well, what I've sometimes told people, you know, when you get to the airport, if you start having a lot of anxiety, call, because we can talk at that point and help you, I think, get through it and get on the plane and find out that it's okay on the plane. But if you bail out, you get immediate relief from that anticipatory anxiety. Feel better for about 2 minutes, then you feel pretty annoyed at yourself. And that annoyance lasts a lot longer than 2 minutes. So, yeah.
Which is why I loved what you say when you say, you just commit to doing it. You know, no matter what, you're going to do it, even if it kills you.
And
Why is it a good thing to say it that way?
No, it is the good thing to say, because what happens is that part of you that's always saying, what if, it says, I give up. This person is going to do it no matter what. I keep saying it's going to kill you, and they say, I don't care. So that part of you just gives up. What became really mind-blowing was this thing that when I found out about some of the ideas that came from Peter Fonagy he's a psychoanalyst in England, what he calls psychic equivalence. And what he points out is that we all have an ability to look out and see what's going on. We have an ability to look inside and remember what has gone on, and we can look inside and imagine something that's never happened before. So we can do perception, we can do memory, we can do imagination. And normally we know which we're doing. But what happens is, we talk about when we get stressed, we have this shift. You lose the ability to look inward. You stop noticing, am I perceiving or remembering or imagining? And you go to whatever is in my mind is real. So let's say you say, all right, I got a flight coming up in a week, and oh man, what if it crashes? Or what if I have a panic attack on the plane? Oh my God, that would be awful. So you start producing stress hormones. And you produce some stress hormones, and this reflective function, he calls it, this ability to look in and reflect on what kind of processing you're doing, it starts to fade away. But when your reflective function starts to fade away, you are not aware that it's fading away, because you'd have to have reflective function to see that you don't have reflective function. See, it's a catch-22. Yeah. So when this stuff slides away, you don't know that it did. Only thing that happens is your imagination becomes your reality. And so this imagination, your plane is going to crash, now it's real. And so now you think, holy smoke, this is going to happen.
Right.
And so people say, I don't know how I know it. I just know if I get on that plane, it's going to crash. If I don't get on the plane, it's going to make it fine. But if I get on, it's going to crash.
Yeah.
So that's psychic equivalence.
And for me, the psychic equivalence is turbulence equals crashing. And there's nothing in between.
Okay.
Turbulence equals crashing. So here's what happens. The turbulence starts. I feel the jolt of the stress hormone. Then there is the instant thought, okay, this is it. We're down. and
you are.
Yeah, well, now when the turbulence is hitting, since I've taken the course, I'm thinking like, I feel the jolt for a second, but then I'm like, whoa, you're okay. You're not like purified.
It's interesting, when you just haven't had what it takes to quickly recover from being revved up, then once again you have to control everything, and you don't like any kind of surprises, even good ones, even if somebody gives you something.
Well, and then the other thing is, like, I think I've said this before, like a lot of people are terrified of bugs. And I have no problem. I will pick up any bug. I have no fear of bugs.
Yeah.
And none whatsoever. And for some reason in my childhood, that was, I don't know, nothing ever happened with bugs. So what I say to people sometimes is I say, you know what, picture this. If I know that they're afraid of spiders or something, I say, picture this. Suppose somebody told you that you had to get on a machine where there were going to be 1,000 spiders crawling all around you for 4 hours.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I said, think how you would feel, okay? And then maybe you can understand how I feel. And that just shuts them right down. I say, look, everybody has things they're afraid of. And, this happens to be mine, and I'm working on it. And, you have things that you're afraid of that I'm not afraid of. Like people say to me, oh, I'm scared to do public speaking. I would never speak in front of people. And I'm like, no, put me in front of 5,000 people. I could speak. Not 1 inch of fear, nothing. And so I feel like if we're able to sort of be kinder to ourselves, like to understand that, we're not alone. People have fears of other things that we don't have. And you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, and that thing about being kind to yourself, and that's why you bring in a non-judgmental person.
Right. who isn't going to say something like, oh, just get over it, right?
Yeah, even a person who gives you advice isn't
Yeah, the
isn't what you
worst.
need. You just need someone who just is okay with you. In fact, the whole question of being okay isn't even a question for them. You just are.
Right. Even if you show your most scared, crazy, horrible self, they're right there with you, holding your hand, looking in your eyes like they love you and you're going to be okay. And, you know,
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing that activates the calming system. And that's the kind of thing that we didn't have enough of when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
right.
And since we didn't have enough, now we have to find, and you know, you don't have to find a lot of people. You just find one person who activates your calming system. And then it's like I like to say, it's like a big jar of peanut butter you can spread on as many crackers as you want to.
Mm.
Hmm.
Sometimes we think we need to have a lot of support people, a lot of different. We can't do it unless we have a lot of support. It only takes one person who can activate your calming system to give us what we need. Once we find that person and link that person to the challenge, that's all it takes. Now, if we didn't have a way of linking it to the challenge, we might need somebody who's good for this challenge and somebody who's good for that challenge. Like this person's for skiing and this person's for public speaking and this person's for doing whatever, you know. But if you can find one person who can activate your calming system and then go through the steps of linking them to the activity, you can get what you're looking for.